welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Welcome to the show, and thank you for tuning in. I want to say a quick thank you to my guest on last week's episode, singer-recording artist Julie Budd. If you didn't get to hear it, you can listen to all of our episodes at entertalkradio.com/makingit or download our app and take us with you. Also, be sure to tune in next week to hear my conversation with political activist, author, musician Sam Harris. We will be talking about the presidential election, and it is bound to be an enlightening and informative conversation. For those of you listening in Los Angeles, I'd like to invite you to a very special night of music this Sunday, November 6th at the E-Spot. We're going to be celebrating my 60th birthday with my band, John Robinson on drums, Luis Conte percussion, Greg Manning piano, Hussein Jifri bass, Melanie Taylor vocals, and as always, a few surprise guests that you do not want to miss. For tickets, just go to Entertalk Radio website or terrywoolman.com. And I really hope to see you there. It's a great way for all of you artists that are making it out there to meet some of the other artists and your community of musicians. I would also like to take a moment to thank the companies that help me sound my best, whether I'm performing live or in the studio recording and producing music. Blue Microphones, Taylor Guitars, Duesenberg Guitars, Seymour Duncan Pickups, Mesa Boogie Amps, Diodario Strings and Planet Waves, Motu Digital Performer, IK Multimedia, Fishman Acoustic Amps, and Exotic Effects. So often, I get asked questions about the creative process. So I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest today is classical pianist Althea Waites. Internationally acclaimed pianist Althea Waites has concertized extensively throughout the United States, Europe, and Asia as a brilliant soloist, chamber musician, and collaborative artist. In addition to performances on concert stages around the world, she has also participated in numerous festivals, including Aspen, Tanglewood, the Yale Summer Festival, the Jacob's Pillow Dance Festival, and the Idyllwild Arts Festival. Praised by the Los Angeles Times for superb technique and profound musicality, Miss Waites has a long and distinguished history of recording new music by American composers and has received several honors and commendations for her work. She has also been guest soloist for National Public Radio's Performance Today, KQED in San Francisco, KCET in Los Angeles, Walt Disney Concert Hall, the Geneva Conservatory of Music in Switzerland, Wigmore Hall in London, Merkin Hall in New York City, concerts for the World Music Program in Jakarta, Indonesia, Phillips Gallery in Washington, D.C., and the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Her recording credits include a CD of music by African-American composers, Black Diamonds, which was released in 1993 to rave reviews, and Along the Western Shore, featuring works by California-based composers. Miss Waites received the Bachelor of Music degree from Xavier University of Louisiana and the Master of Music degree in piano from Yale University School of Music. In addition to maintaining her concert schedule, Miss Waites is currently on the faculty of the Cole Conservatory of Music at Cal State University in Long Beach and is in demand for recitals, residencies, and master classes throughout the United States. Please welcome international Steinway artist Althea Waites.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
It's so nice to have you here in my studio. It's it's very special because a lot of our interviews are call-in, but it's really nice when I get to sit knee to knee with a fellow artist. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. More than welcome.
You received a full scholarship to Yale University to study piano, which is remarkable. What was that like in the late 1950s to be a young Black female musician studying classical music on a full scholarship?
Well, there were a lot of challenges, I think, probably because in the South, as I'm sure probably many of the listeners are aware, the South was rigidly segregated right through the 30s, 40s, 50s, and early 60s. And after Brown versus Board of Education, that situation began to change. But it was really a bit of a challenge for me because in my family, I should say that I grew up in a family of musicians. You know, my mother was a church soloist, and I had several relatives who played in the marching bands in New Orleans. And so I grew up with both classical music, jazz, opera. It was all there. So that was a really wonderful influence. And then when I went to Xavier, one of the talent scouts, I call it a talent scout, from Yale came to audition musicians at Xavier, and they recommended me for a scholarship. I was nervous and very fearful about it because I thought, I'm going to be far away from home. Am I really ready for this? I had prepared myself, but How
old were you at that time?
I think I must have been about 20, 21, 22, something like that. Mm-hmm. And luckily, they were impressed with my playing, and I got in on a full scholarship. And Yale at that time, of course, had very few Black students in the School of Music. There were Black students in the university, the law school, various other colleges. But I think there may have been 2 or 3 other Black students in the school besides me. But it was okay because I was treated pretty much like everybody else. I never felt like I had to be singled out, and I don't think that the faculty gave me any special treatment just because I happened to be Black. So it was a very stimulating environment to be in. And I must say that I owe a great deal of credit to the teachers and the friendships that I made at that time. And I still have friends that I'm in touch with today as a result of that. But in the beginning, I was a little fearful because I didn't know what it was going to be like going to the East Coast for the first time. Trying to compete with other students who were certainly better than I was, but it all worked out.
Had you lived anywhere other than Louisiana before that time? No,
I had not. I grew up in New Orleans and had my basic education there. I was educated in the public schools. I went to a public high school, Booker T. Washington, and then from there went on to Xavier, which is a predominantly Black college. I should say it's a Catholic university, and it was run by the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament. I think now it's changed a little bit, but they are still, I think the sisters are still involved with the campus, although now they have a president who has come in and is kind of changing a little bit the direction of the school, but it's still known for music and the sciences, and they have a growing campus. So I'm very glad to see all that.
So you started playing piano at a very young age, and I'm wondering, who in your family was it that recognized your early signs of talent and encouraged you to become a musician?
Well, I think I must have been about 5, maybe 4 or 5 years old. And in the home that I grew up in, we had an old Aeolian cabinet grand in the living room. And I used to just wander into the living room sometimes in the middle of the night and just fool around and play. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would play. And then I heard songs on the radio, and I would try to reproduce them on the piano and all of that. And then my grandmother would say, okay, it's time to go to bed. And she would drag me away from the piano. So by the time I was 6, I started lessons with a local teacher. And everything just kind of went from there. I had the regular classical regime. I did Clementi sonatinas and scales and a million exercises and all of that. And my lessons occurred on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And my mom supervised all of my practice sessions because she could read music a little bit. And so everything that I did, I mean, she checked me out to be sure that I was doing everything correctly. So I think they both recognized at that point that I was going to do something special. I mean, I didn't always recognize that. I say to people, music chose me. It wasn't so much that I thought I was going to be so great at it. But I think early on, by the time I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I started playing in the public recitals and things like that.
Most of the artists that I interview and speak with, and I feel the same way myself, feel the same, that music chose me.
Exactly.
So I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you enjoy it as a kid, or did you feel forced at all, or you?
I loved it. I mean, I couldn't tear myself away from the piano. Great. It's the kind of thing where if you really are excited about music, you immerse yourself in it. And I never got bored. I mean, by the time I was in what is called middle school, now it would have been junior high school then, I was playing for different assemblies and playing marches for the students to come in after recess and all of that. And at that point, I was reading very, very well. So I loved playing the piano. And for me, it was kind of like, oh, wow, now I get to practice. And I was never bored with it. And then in addition to that, my mom used to take us to the New Orleans Opera House to go to opera. And we went to dance concerts. I mean, so we had a really wonderful childhood, in terms of
as far as artistic exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
Your sister Claire Fraser is a jazz vocalist. Your daughter Melanie Taylor is a successful touring singer and artist. Do you think that's nature or nurture, or maybe a little bit of both? I
think it's a little bit of both. Melanie has just made tremendous strides in her career. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of her. And my sister, of course, has had a career. She kind of branched out as a jazz singer because she wanted to do something a little different from just teaching in the schools. And so there was always a bit of that jazz feeling inside of her. But Melanie has been the driving force, for all of our family because she really has done it. I mean, she's had that broad experience. She's traveled, and she has some wonderful, wonderful music that's still inside of her that's going to be brought out. I'm very, very excited and happy for her.
It sounds like you're very proud of her.
Oh, God, yes. Yes. She has done it, and she continues to work very hard at it.
Well, as do you. You are out there doing it. You've been doing it a very long time.
Yep, for sure.
It's I don't normally call women out on their age, but feel free to let people know how long you've been playing if that interests you.
Well, starting from, oh my goodness, from the time that I was 6 when I first started having lessons, I continued to study right through high school, college, graduate work, and all of that. I'm now 77, and not only just 77, but 77 and vital. You practice every day. You do concerts year round. You have a full schedule of private students. You always make time for recording sessions anytime that you've asked. We've worked on movie scores together, and you've played on my records, and you exercise, and you have a very active life. Yeah, I feel very fortunate. I've been very lucky in that. In spite of some of the physical issues that I've had, or health issues, I should say, you manage to bounce back, and you
parts wear out.
Yeah, you do what you got to do,
right?
and you take whatever time you need, of course, to take care of yourself. I mean, that's what we all have to do. Yeah.
How'd you begin your career once you completed your master's? What happened the day after school?
After that, oh my goodness, the day I graduated, I was like, yay, I'm out of here. No more musicology. I don't have to deal with all of that. But what happened while I was there, I should say that the Yale Summer Festival, which is held every year at Norfolk, Connecticut. It's a nice little country town in the hills. I was doing quite a bit of chamber music there. And my teacher always encouraged me to get out and do other things in that area. So when I graduated, I had a teaching job at a black college in Alabama. I think the school is still there. It's up near Huntsville, northern Alabama. So I realized, of course, that I had to combine teaching with performing, although I cut back on it, and I was able to do that because I needed to support my daughter and all of that. So it wasn't just a matter of, okay, I'm going to travel here or do this. I had to find some kind of a day job in order to make all of that happen.
Boy, that's a statement. You had to find a day job after having a full scholarship to Yale with studying music and being one of the chosen ones. And still went and had to get a day job. That's the reality of being a musician. That is now more than ever, and it certainly was then.
Yeah, it was really the times, the era was different, but frankly, the job situation with musicians has not changed. I have to interject here by saying that if you go all the way back to the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, music and art were always kind of brought down to the realm of mere entertainment, even though we've had poets, we've had painters, singers, all kinds of instrumentalists and on. And they were always designated as mere entertainers for the kings and all of that. And to some extent, I have to say that some of that has really not changed, even though these musicians supported themselves by doing exactly that. They went out and they performed in the streets and, and in churches and all of that. So really the times might be different, but you have to find a way to support yourself. It's always been a challenge, I think.
Right.
It really has been.
There's something, we've just got about a minute left before we go into our first commercial break, but there's something in a way that it's disappointing, but reassuring in a way, because I know a lot of musicians doubt their talent or their ability to make a living. And I think they are not immediately connected. I think one does not reflect the other in a true way. I'm here with classical pianist, artist, recording artist, and friend Althea Waites. Your website is altheawaites.com, and we're going to post that on our show page. And please stick around. We're going to be back in just a short moment with Althea Waites.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
And I'm here in my studio with pianist, classical musician, and educator Althea Waites. Welcome back, Althea.
Thank you so much, Terry.
You were just talking about in the olden golden days of classical music, musicians were more thought of as entertainment and not as much culturally as a cultural contributor to society. During those times, artists had benefactors pay their living expenses so they could focus on creating art. And, I was going to ask you how you make a living as classical musician. I know you mix it up between concertizing and then also teaching.
Exactly.
Are there other ways as a classical musician?
Well, there are other ways. What you have to do, and I think everybody that I know who's performing today is into it. I mean, you have to literally promote yourself. You got to go out, and I started with press kits. I don't know that anybody uses press kits today, but I started.
They do. They're EPKs, electronic press kits.
Right. I had the old-fashioned folder with my name on it.
And an 8x10.
Right. And then I had to, send them out in these large envelopes, and you put all your data in there, your bio and some pictures and a little list of things. And of course, after I did that, then I went to the website. I think I've had a website now for quite some time. I'd say, 15, 16 years. And that is really the best way to go. So you advertise online, you talk to people who are in the business, and I had a list, of course, when I graduated from Yale about all the places where I could play, and I did that. I went to the Gardner Museum in Boston and, Town Hall in New York, and I talked to a lot of people who were there. Okay, what can I do to promote myself and all of that? Sometimes, of course, grants are available. I mean, you can apply for grants, although there's no guarantee that you're going to get one. But everybody that I know who's doing this now really has either freelance work where you go out and maybe you teach part-time, which is what I'm doing, and then through word of mouth and just advertising, that's how you're able to get content. And of course, you get paid. I mean, at least I do very little volunteer work. I'm just about everything that I do now. I have a fee schedule, and I follow that and work it out with the presenter.
So that makes it easier to have those business conversations because you know in advance what your going rate or market value is.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have to do that. See, the other issue is this. I think we as artists get so excited about the prospect of being heard is that, oh, wow, another gig, another opportunity. And then we forget about the other part. Well, I got a lot of advice. I took classes in music business. I talked to entertainment lawyers along the way, and they said, okay, here's what you should do. Here's what you should not do. And now, I mean, in the beginning, I used to be a little, how shall I say, shy about talking about money. Well, now I'm not. but it took a lot of unfortunate experiences, like not getting paid for playing piano on a recording session when I moved to the West Coast, just doing the stuff and then not getting credit and all of that. So once you've learned your lesson that way, you say, okay, now I really have to take charge. I got to be responsible.
Right.
And proactive.
Right. And you do that in a way that is basically then informational and not emotional.
Exactly. Right. You have to be calm on the inside, and you have to tell yourself too that, okay, I deserve to be treated with respect.
Right.
I've worked hard to get to this place, and that's what you show to the presenter. I mean, you don't walk in like you're afraid to say anything. You have to really, especially being a woman and being a black woman of color, you really have to stand up for yourself. And it doesn't mean you have to get on the soapbox and preach the sermon,
right?
But you do have to let everybody know up front, okay, this is what I would like, and then it's up to the presenter to decide if they want to hire you or if they want to book you for something. And then if they don't, it's all right. You say, well, thank you, and you move on.
Right.
But you have to make your case for that. You got to be really, really upfront and very precise about what you would like and what you would not like.
And also not be afraid to walk away from a job.
Exactly. And I've done that.
Right.
I mean, if the job didn't pay what I thought it should, I say, well, thank you. But no, thank you.
Right.
I can give you a referral if you want somebody else who will work for that amount. Call me. And sometimes that has happened. I mean, I get a phone call and I'll say, okay, here's something that might be of interest to another friend of mine. And it's okay. And then something else replaces that. I get something better or maybe another opportunity.
Isn't that interesting?
You know how my grandmother's, okay, one door closes, another door opens.
Right.
So even if you turn down something, it doesn't mean you're never going to work again. It just means that there may be another opportunity out there that you don't know about, and your phone still rings.
Or how about that you're actually making room for something greater to happen?
Exactly. Precisely.
That is more suited to where you are in your life.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. I mean, you don't want to settle for just any old thing. I mean, I've compromised a lot, in my life, but sometimes because I had to, because I didn't have a choice. But now I can be a little more selective about the work that I want to do and the work that I do not want to do, and it's okay. It's okay. Because it's about more than just money. You have to earn a living, but you also have to be true to yourself as an artist and as a human being on the planet.
And that's a daily practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You have to work at that all the time. You got to examine your life. I mean, if you don't, then you're missing out on, you're just kind of skating through, but you're not really thinking in depth about what is really going on. You have to really do that all the time.
I want to talk about practicing because I know you practice a lot.
Right.
Itzhak Perlman talks about the importance of repetition and practicing and encourages musicians to practice slowly. He's quoted as saying, if you learn something slowly, you forget it slowly. What is your philosophy on practice?
I kind of agree with Perlman on that. I have not met him personally, but I do know the concept of working things out at a slow pace, even if you feel like you want to do something a little faster. I mean, for example, if I'm working on a piece that I have not played or that I'm unfamiliar with, I have to start with that in mind. Okay, what do I want to accomplish? I go through the hieroglyphics on the page, meaning the notes, the rhythmic pattern, and all of that. And you can work that out at a slow pace. And I think for me, that's the best way that I like to go about it. And I pass this on to my students. If you're doing an exercise, you can start slowly and then gradually every day or every week build up your speed if it's something that has to happen that way. But the process of taking it in, I think, has to be done without expecting that it's going to be allegro vivace in 10 seconds. That simply does not happen. And you have to allow yourself to be patient because it's not like an overnight process. Oh, boy, I got it, and now I'm ready to move on to the next step. It doesn't happen like that.
Right. And once you work up challenging passages to tempo, do you ever work them past tempo? Do you practice them faster than they need to be so that it becomes easier at the tempo.
thing.
Just like an athlete might train with some ankle weights or train at altitude so that when they run at sea level, they have more of an ease to their race.
Sometimes I've done that. I've played some passages a little faster than required.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always do that, but it does help because then when you go back to the designated tempo, it's somewhat easier, and then your hands can find the right passages without feeling like you're lost.
Right.
So I've done that. Yeah, I think that's very helpful.
You do? Yeah. I was curious what you thought about that.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it. I think the main thing is that whatever it is that you're doing, you have to be completely engaged and focused all the time. Practicing without being engaged and focused is a waste of time. I mean, you really do have to stay with it all the time.
Say that again one more time.
Practicing without being engaged and focused is a waste of time. You got, as Melanie says, stay in the moment,
right?
And be present.
So if you're not present, you might as well step away from your instrument and go for a walk or go work out or make a salad or
have some tea, or whatever, but don't sit there and kind of that doesn't help. It really doesn't. So
what's a typical day like in your life?
Well, I get up in the morning and because I've dealt with arthritis over these last couple of years as my body starts to change, I do a lot of stretching. I meditate. I chant the Lotus Sutra because I practice a form of Mahayana Buddhism. That's one of the things I do. So I do that, and then after I meditate, I stretch, and sometimes I'll go out, to the beach and walk. Or if I can't do that, I walk in the neighborhood, around the block several times. And then I come back in and I make coffee. I love coffee, so that's a part of my routine. If I'm going to work, if I'm going to teach, then it means that whole period has to be shortened or truncated because I don't have extended time.
Right.
Usually my teaching day starts at either 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, so I get up at 6 and start doing all of that. And then after I get dressed and showered and all of that, then I'm ready to, to go out. But I do start with stretching because I find that really, really helps. I have to be very much aware of what's going on with all of that. I had knee surgery a couple years ago, and I'm also working on losing weight, and being very meticulous about what I eat.
Right.
You have to do all of that if you want to stay strong.
Have you always eaten healthy? I know you have as long as I've known you, but is that something you did younger, or were you more carefree about health?
I was a little more carefree, I must say. I would eat whatever was put in front of me, but when I started having issues like ulcers and things like that as a result of some personal experiences, I realized, you got to start paying attention to that. And I did. So now I'm really focusing on trying to have more of a plant-based diet, drinking water, and I take a number of supplements. I found some that really, really work because, you can't just take anything, you have to get advice. And I've gotten some pretty good advice from dietitians and nutrition specialists, especially before and after I had knee surgery. So now I'm really on the case about what to avoid, what to eat, what not to eat, some foods that cause problems, foods that are good for your body and for your overall good health. So those are things that I definitely feel are very important, really for anybody, let alone a musician. You gotta do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And you can't be glib about it.
Right. You always carry a big bottle of filtered water in your bag wherever you go.
Right, I got one right here.
That's right. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. I drink a lot of water. The doctor recommended up to almost like a gallon a day. This little bottle holds 32 ounces, but I'll go through that, and sometimes I'll mix it up with lemon juice. I have that, or something else that's really very satisfying. And generally, once I do that, and if I'm well hydrated, I'm good to go.
So I'm glad to hear that you live a healthy life. I'm such an advocate for exercise and diet and sleep.
Yeah.
You also have a really strong commitment to cultural and community education, and it's evident through your work. with many of the outreach and service programs that you do in retirement homes, prisons, hospitals, art institutions. Why is that important to you?
Well, it's important because not everybody has access to the technology. Let's say you're in a hospital. Okay, there are people in there who certainly, maybe not by choice, they're there because they have to be, or they need care, they need treatment. Sometimes they've had surgery, whatever. And I find it really important to pay attention to that, visit, share whatever there is to share with people who are there. And in prisons, as a matter of fact, I had an experience once. I went to a rehab center in Norco where there were men who were recovering from drug addiction. Mm-hmm. And it was really a revelation because I played Bach and Mozart, and I asked them what they thought about it. And they gave me their feel. They talked about how they felt. Oh, this is really pretty music. And mm-hmm. Why are your fingers moving so fast? This kind of thing. But it was great. We had a conversation, and these were hardcore criminals. I mean, they had very strong feelings about the music. And then I played some jazz, mm-hmm. and some gospel music for them. And it was great. So I do that. And then retirement homes, too, because there are a lot of people who don't have family, or maybe for a variety of reasons, they're there. And we bring our students. The students that I teach often go into retirement homes out here in Southern California to play and try pieces out. And I get a lot of, I'll say, a lot of joy out of that. Because I think people need the arts in their lives. I feel like the arts are going to save all of us. Yeah. In spite of all of the crap that's going on. We need music, we need dance, we need all of those things that make life worthwhile.
So you actually think that's part of the responsibility of being an artist? I
think so. Yeah. I think it's one thing, and I really strongly believe this. You can practice 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I don't do that, but I know some people who do. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. But you have to ask yourself, okay, what purpose is this serving? And who am I going to share my music with? That's another question. Am I just working to do concerts so I can be heard, or am I preparing this music so that I can share it with anyone who cares to listen? So you should feel some kind of a responsibility, I think, to do more than just spend your time practicing 8 or 9 hours a day without having some connection to the outside world. It doesn't mean that you have to do it constantly, but you have to think about that. And I think the face of classical music is changing mm-hmm. as a result of that. I mean, I go to concerts now, and conductors get up and talk to the audience before they play a big Beethoven symphony, right. And it engages the audience, because they know something about it. Mm-hmm. Pre-concert lectures and very, very important. It
demystifies the experience.
Right.
We're going into our second break. I'm here with Althea Waites, classical musician and, musician. And we will be right back to talk about what I mean about the versatility of her as an artist. Stick around.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every
Are you
Wednesday.
serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
And we are back in the studio with pianist Althea Waites. We were just talking during the break about the impact of music in the world and how powerful it can be. And, you know, one of the things that we were speaking about on a previous conversation was conductor Gustavo Dudamel had expressed his frustration for not being able to make more of a change in the world situation using music as a catalyst. Do you feel that music has the power to create change in the world politically?
Well, that's a good question. I think in some cases, yes, and in some cases, no. You know, it depends on everything else. But I was trying to think of some of the European composers from the 19th century, for example, Tchaikovsky, Mahler. I mean, and that music is still being performed today. Beethoven, of course, was very political in his own way, you know, and struggled against the tide. So was Mozart, going back even further than that. I mean, he had all kinds of conflicts with the aristocracy and with everything else that was going on in Vienna and in Europe at that time. And somehow he was able to overcome it. But I do think that music has the power, the incredible power to change things politically. But it's going to take more than that. I think it's going to take people who are aware and informed to go out and pass on what they know to be true to everybody else. You can't always change hearts and minds with music, especially if people have been blindsided for generations because they think that this is the only way to think. And sometimes one song or one piece, can open your ears up. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about Leonard Bernstein, who was very political, a great artist, composer, pianist. I mean, you name it. There was hardly anything that he did not do. Mm-hmm. And he always talked about the fact that our response to upheaval and violence is to make great music. And he did that. And so there are artists out there who really believe that. And I'm one of them. I mean, I do believe that the arts are going to save humanity, but it's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take people in high positions to gradually work to change the point of view that has been perpetrated for many, many years. I think it's going to take a combination of both.
Mm-hmm. So along those lines about having a world vision, or being aware of your place in the community of the world, and not just your own little village or block that you live on. I personally believe that it's really important for an artist to travel.
Oh, yes.
Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. No, you have to travel, because I think when I first started traveling, that opened my eyes to something very, very different. I mean, I think traveling creates, the experience of visiting and talking with people from a completely different cultural background, hearing the music that they hear every day, talking with them about their lives, what's going on. I mean, if anything has really changed my life, I have to say that it was traveling, going to Asia, going to Japan, going to Indonesia, all of the places in Europe, Switzerland, whatever. You really broaden yourself, and then you come back with a completely different, I would say, a completely different perspective on what it's like. So staying in your own little corner that might be okay, but you really have to stretch yourself out. Even if you're not going to do a concert or whatever, you still learn a lot. If you, let's say, if you put yourself in a position of, I've been to some places where Americans go to Italy, but they want American food. They look for a McDonald's in Milan. And I'm saying, yeah, there are, they have McDonald's, but come on, experience some of the local food.
Right.
You go to Indonesia, you need to sample the bean pie, and they do some wonderful things with beans. And I've lost some of those recipes, but try the local food.
Yeah.
Don't look for McDonald's or Jack in the Box.
Right.
It's really important to have that and to talk to them about their cultural experiences. They have customs and traditions that we're not aware of. And so when you travel, it's important not to just say, well, I'm an American, so this is what I want, and if I can't have it, then my trip is not worthwhile.
Right.
you gotta kind of open yourself up to new ideas and having new experiences. I think that's what it's all about.
So choosing to travel is a very positive thing where you can bring in influences and have your art informed by having a better understanding of other cultures and culinary experiences and conversations. There are many African-American artists like Nina Simone and Josephine Baker who had to move to Europe in order to make a living. What are your thoughts on that time in our country's history and how things have changed or haven't changed?
Some things have and some things have not. I was glad you brought up Nina Simone because she had a really difficult time. I think the film that came out, What Happened, Miss Simone, which was on Netflix, for an excellent documentary about her life, and she talked about how she was supposed to go to Curtis to study piano, the Curtis Institute in Philadelphia.
Well, she, like herself, a lot of people don't know, was a classical pianist and very highly trained and accomplished.
Right, and she was not accepted at Curtis, and then they awarded, ironically, they gave her the diploma. Well, it was posthumous, after she died. And I'm thinking, well, what good is that? She wasn't there to experience it. What a tragic thing.
Yes.
I think racism, I have to say that it's still part of our culture. And artists like Lester Young, the great jazz sax player, spent a lot of time in Paris because he was frustrated with what was going on here. James Baldwin spent quite a bit of time in Paris, other countries in Europe. And it was basically because life was so difficult for them here that they felt they could not accomplish what they really needed to. And so they left. And many have never returned except maybe to visit family and friends. And so I can definitely understand it. A lot of people are thinking about that now, given the current political situation. I've heard some friends of mine saying that they're thinking about leaving the country, because things are starting to really, really change here, and they're
afraid.
And they're afraid, and I can understand it. Race.
Are these people of color that are thinking of leaving, or
both,
just in general?
People of color and just in general.
Right.
I have some white friends who are saying, "Gee, I don't know if I'll be able to stay here much longer if the political climate is going to be so, disturbing." They're looking at other options. I have to say that racism has always been a part of American life. Some things are better. But now what I'm noticing, especially since Obama was elected president, he had those 2 terms. I mean, he's just finishing up his second term. It's now coming out. It's much more blatant than it was back in the day. I'm not saying that it's all about that, but I definitely see a surge in things.
In acceptability of racism?
Yeah, and also that it's okay. I'm not saying that everybody feels that way, but I have seen a surge of it because he's the first black president, and there are a lot of people who were not necessarily happy about that. I was thrilled about it, but and I know a lot of people also felt, yeah, this is wonderful, and now we can say that the situation has changed, but frankly, it has not. There's still other people out there who feel like, okay, we don't need this, blah, 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 and they want to turn the clock back. Right. And that disturbs me greatly.
I understand that.
Yeah, I do see a lot of that. So, I can understand people wanting to leave. And when I think about artists who have left, Paul Robeson, for example, who came along in the 40s and 50s, had his passport revoked because everybody thought he was a communist sympathizer. He traveled to Europe and was not allowed to perform abroad. And finally, when he did come back, he was he's much older, and he started doing concerts in the churches. He was a wonderful singer and actor, right? But had a hard time.
Well, they did the same thing with Pete Seeger as well.
Yes.
Excuse me, who was not black, but he was a political activist. Yeah. He was a folk singer. Yep. And I think his life mission was to stir the pot and get people to think.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's important to do that musically too. You really, if you really care about what's going on in the world, then part of your I want to say mission is to encourage people to think beyond just the everyday stuff. When you turn on the television and you're watching the news and all of that, you've got to think and go a little bit beyond all of that. I can't emphasize how important that is. What I find a lot of times, too, is that we have all of this sophisticated technology right at our fingertips, but we allow these tools sometimes to distract us from what we really should be paying attention to. And I'm not anti-tech. I mean, I use those tools, too,
Right, but there's a disconnect. People think with all the hyperactivity of social media that they're actually talking to people and interacting with people, but they're actually distancing themselves.
Well, like Facebook. I mean, like I said, I'm not anti-Facebook. I think it's a great social tool. People. But if you just do that and you're not interacting one-on-one, person to person with that individual that you want to talk to. I mean, if that's your only link, I have issues with that. And my students do this. They spend hours and hours on their phones, on Facebook, and they're talking. They're even texting each other across the room. And I'm thinking,
during class.
Yeah, during class. And I often have to say, guys, can you put away your phones? Turn your phones off, please, while I'm teaching. And it's because they've allowed themselves to do that. And I've even had to put in my syllabi, for the piano classes that I teach, please turn your cell phones and your iPod and iPad off for 50 minutes. And then when you leave the room,
right, stay with me, people.
Right. Stay here. Don't go anywhere. We're not going to be here that long. I'm finding that a lot of people are distracted because of that. And my students they're the first ones, and some of them get the message. But I find myself having to say that and put things like that in a course outline, even though it's not part of the material. But I say, okay, here's classroom protocol. Respect the classroom environment, and let's be engaged for 50 minutes. When you leave, I don't care. You can do whatever you want to do.
I want to ask you about your piano duo, the Orpheus duo with Mark Uranker. Oh yeah. And just take a moment to talk about what attracted you to the idea of playing piano duets.
Oh, well, we really, I have been a new music champion for many, many years, and Mark is too. We love doing music for two pianos because I thought, well, we both agreed 2's better than 1. So, we got one 9-foot grand. Okay, we'll bring in another. We can really make some noise.
You want 18 feet of piano.
There you go. And it really became a project. I've known Mark now for close to 20 years. And I met him when I first started teaching at Cal State Long Beach. He's a wonderful musician, very enthusiastic and just involved in a lot of things. And he's also politically active and a great teacher. I've learned a lot from him, really, just as a result from our being friends for so long. So the duo is a big project of ours. What we have been fortunate enough to have is composers writing and dedicating pieces to us. And for us. That is really exciting, and it's also a great honor to have someone write a piece for you. So that really, really changed my focus on all of this. And so we do concerts in Long Beach. We're working on a recording, and we have to get a grant, to actually put it together. Yeah,
I'm very excited about seeing the two of you or getting the two of you in the studio. That's a project I would absolutely champion. That's an album that needs to be made.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're getting, believe it or not, towards the end of this show. And I wanted to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests. At this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say think a lot about setting good goals for yourself and do all the good you can wherever you can for as long as you can. That's a Methodist concept. I'm not a religious person, but I do some church work. I play at a church on Sunday morning, and I think it was John Wesley who brought that out. Do all the good you can, try to make a difference in the world, and Gandhi, be the change that you want to see in the world. And so I would say to my other self, think about all of that and think about how music can be a force for good in the world. I think that's what I would have said to my younger self.
To young Althea,
right,
who was sitting at the piano, loving practicing, but only thinking about the notes, I would imagine.
Yeah, about the notes, exactly.
And not about the purpose or the intention.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I am so honored to share this microphone with you. You are an extraordinarily gifted artist in your own right. I mean, God, the work that you have done and continue to do. I mean, I'm sitting here being mind-boggled by, my God, how does Terry fit all that in?
I don't.
You're an amazing musician.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you to say, and it actually means a lot for me to hear that from you, because I love and respect you. And
thank you.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here on my show today.
Oh, it was such a great pleasure.
Anything? We have about 30 seconds. Anything you want to say to our listeners?
I want to say to the listeners, get out there and vote.
Yes.
Please. And thank you for sharing the show and listening to it. Check it out. Tell your friends about it and tell them about Terry's, all of the projects that Terry is involved in. Come to the E-Spot. But more importantly, too, get out there and vote.
That's right.
As if your life depended on it.
Speak your voice.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
Yes.
Speak your heart, speak your voice,
Yep.
And stay involved.
Amen.
And actually, that's really what we're going to be talking about in next week's show.
Yeah,
it's about involvement. It's not about being on either side. Thank you, Althea, so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you all next week on Making It.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woman.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Althea, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.